Good morning. Welcome to Work in Progress. Thank you, everyone, for being in the audience here today, and also thank you to everyone that's at home as well. So we've got this kind of weird mix of the real life, Neve being here with me today as part of the Starticus team, and then obviously everyone joining us on Zoom and streaming as well. So it's just a fantastic, obviously, kind of hopefully blended experience, and that's what we're going with Work in Progress, because the world of work is changing. So we kind of want to reflect that today with the theme of the event, which is around the future of workplaces, ways of working, through to the future jobs and talent planning. Obviously looking at kind of commitments to diversity, inclusion and social purpose, through to meeting and kind of matching people to the hiring demands of the tech industry. So we're looking both locally in Northern Ireland, and that's why we've got a heart and soul. We're based at the MAC, which is in Belfast, but we're looking at global themes that are going to kind of impact on everyone. So hello to the audience here, hello to the audience at home. Audience in the room, I have bought a really dodgy old phone with me that you can WhatsApp with any questions, and I think I've got it in my pocket. Yep, so if you have any questions for either the speakers or you've got any questions for the panelists, then basically you can WhatsApp us. You should have a little letter with you there. Zoom people, you're not allowed to ask any questions. I don't mean it cheekily, but it's just because sometimes some people ask some horrendous questions. So we're going to stop the chat from there. The audience here in this room is going to represent you here, and they're going to ask any questions to panel. We're not using microphones because we want to try and be COVID secure for the whole day as well. So WhatsApp us any questions, audience, and then we'll go from there. Obviously, just a big thanks before we go on. Just before we go on to sponsors, just to mention thank you to the MAC. They've been great in accommodating us. To all the Starticus helpers that are here today as well. Unit 7, brilliant, obviously, in terms of audio visual. And thank you to the audience here and at home. So, Neve, what's coming out throughout the day?
Well, in this first session, we'll be exploring the future of workspaces, ways of working and how your business can collaborate in real time. Then at 11:30, we'll be focusing on hiring demands of the growing tech sector. At 1 p.m, we'll be looking at session 3, which is through diversity, inclusion and social purpose. At 2:30, session 4 will begin, future jobs and talent planning. And then finally at 3:45, join us as we announce the pitching startups will walk away with the 1.5k cash prize. So just ahead to starticuseventbrite.com if you want to book any of that. But if you want to stay onto this link, it will be running the full event today as well.
I thought you were going to say 1.5 million then, and I was actually shitting it because I was thinking I don't have 1.5 million.
I would have started pitching an idea if that was the case.
I'll be getting some word from the sponsors there, and we'd have to change some sponsorship stuff going on. But no, thank you ever so much. Talking of sponsors, thanks ever so much to the version 1 and real-time recruitment team who have come in as major sponsors for this. They've supported us from the very start, so thank you, Claire and Lorna. As Neve said, obviously in this first session, we're going to be exploring the future of workspaces, ways of working, and how your business can collaborate in real time. So our partners for this session is an organization called Waypoint. They're looking to change, fundamentally looking to change new ways to lead and manage and adapt to kind of real change across complex business and social and technology environments. The Waypoint change management platform uses their proprietary and collaborative protocol. It's very posh, this wording, by the way, which is a paradigm shift in the way that conventional change programs are managed and deployed. I hope Toby might be able to explain that a little bit to me, and we'll have a chat with Toby as well, but I just think it's like Slack for innovation and ideas and the innovation process. It's obviously a cloud-based platform where you can basically come together as teams, whether that's a business, whether that's an individual, whether that's an accelerator program, and fast-track that progress. Hello, Emma. We have Emma Jones from Enterprise Nation. She's just come in from Dublin. She's over in Ireland at the moment because Enterprise Nation are just setting up, have set up base in Ireland. So it's lovely to have you with us, Emma, today as well. Over to yourself, Neve.
So inspired by everything that's taken place over the last 18 months and how we have all learned and benefited from blending work environments, we are now joined virtually by Vanessa Tierney, who is the director of YonderDesk.com, a virtual real estate platform for hybrid working, and co-founder of Abodu, a learning engagement platform for people in the new world of work in geognostics, talent and matching and enriching platform for future skills.
I feel like we're like Richard and Judy. What do you think? I don't know. Like, we need to. I don't know if we're.
Richard always looks better than Judy. We know this.
Really?
That's an insult.
maybe I should be like Ant in your deck. That's probably better. Obviously, we're joined. Vanessa's joined by Nino as well. Hello, Vanessa. Lovely to see you there on the screen. There she's waving. Happy days. Thank you. Yes, thank you. We'll let you get on with your presentation. We have Nino joining us as well, I believe.
That's right. Nina's joining in from Italy. You can see her there. Her camera's not on.
Okay, cool. Happy days. There she is. Hello, Nino. I'm gonna let you get on with your presentation. So me and Neve will drop off. Just to give you kind of a bit of awareness, there's probably a good kind of 25, 30 people behind you in the audience. They're seeing what you see on Zoom at the same time. So it's that blended hybrid experience that we're going for here. So we'll let you get on with your presentation.
Thank you very much. Okay, hello everybody. So our presentation is going to be a little bit different today. Nina's joining me from Italy, but we work together in a virtual space every day as if we were in one head office. So we're going to bring you on a bit of a virtual tour and show you what that looks like. But I thought I would start off, I guess, talking a little bit about the experience I've had leading teams in remote working for the last decade. Obviously in 2020, we were all forced into this massive experiment and there was the shock factor. And going into 2021, a lot of companies were thinking, okay, well, we just have to make this work a little bit longer before we reopen offices. But any of the surveys done, and we've just done a top 100 leader survey asking them, you know, for 2022, what do they endeavor? What do they think is going to happen in terms of remote working? And nearly 90% are saying remote and hybrid is the way forward now. So this is a new model. And I think where I saw at the very beginning, the video, Alistair, about change and, you know, the percentage of change that actually works and doesn't work, this has to work. And ironically, I had met a brilliant person in South America who had for the last 10 years managed gig workers. And together we started to write a book around, well, how can you run a company if you've no walls? Interestingly, it was due to be released March 2020. We decided to hold off because of the pandemic, but it came out later in the summer. But the whole essence of it was, can you make it work if you're 100% remote? And then how does a hybrid model, or what does it look like? And one of the reasons I became a director of Yonder Desk is because, having done remote for so long, I felt very, very isolated from the team. We had members all around the world, from Germany to Hawaii, America, India. And, everyone did get that fatigue with video and links, and everything had to be scheduled. That ability to just be innovative and say, listen, we grab a coffee, we have a chat, they call it the water cooler moment, but whatever you want to describe that brainstorming, it's very hard to do when you're doing individual meetings on video. And so when the opportunity was to become part of Yonder Desk, when I saw it came about, I was just blown away by something so simple, well, relatively simple from a technical perspective, could actually reopen the channels of communication again. And nothing can replace the physical office, but boy, does it get there in terms of enabling people to connect. So I thought what I would do is actually bring you on a tour while I'm chatting about, since we've embedded Yonder Desk into Abodu and what it's done for us. And Nino is going to come in as the product sales manager for Yonder Desk and really talk about what are the companies saying to her about where are the changes. I will start off with this. The survey said the two biggest pain points for leaders right now today are attrition, the phrase, the great resignation. 75% plus of people are thinking, actually, I don't know if this, not just, I don't know if this company is for me, but I don't know if this job and career path is for me, because we've all had time to reflect. And then the other element as well is, well, what are the future critical skills? So if we know that technology is taking over more and more of the roles, well, what do I need to make my organization really competitive? And is there the opportunity to reskill and redeploy rather than have resignation? Okay, so this is obviously live. And I'm going to hope this is going to go well. Okay, I'm going to share my screen, and if you follow me through. Okay, so you need to give me authority to be able to share my screen. Technical hiccup number one. That's okay, I can keep talking. Okay, I'll try again. Hold on, let's see.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, no problem. While we're waiting, it would be lovely if anyone has their WhatsApp in the live audience there open. If you could kind of highlight what are the challenges that you have when it comes to hybrid or remote working. Maybe if I list the top that we see, one is the connectiveness with the staff. Two is, do you know if someone's working? Three is the culture is being lost. And four is like different opinions within the organization, certain profiles of people saying, the office needs to reopen. Oh, perfect, I'm in. Others are saying, no, I need remote. And so I believe we're in. Please tell me if you can see my screen.
We can.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. So welcome to our floor. We operate 24/7. So some of the team are coming in now, especially in APAC, and the US joins later. So you'll see here now, we have our own floor, which we've designed completely, right from the lobby to each individual personalized office. So I'm going to go into my office first. Now, when I relocate to this space, I don't need to say to anyone where I am because they can physically see me. And a lot of the companies that are embracing this type of virtual floor, virtual building, what they're doing is they're actually mimicking their exact building, whether it's, a Dublin, Belfast head office, so that, and this is the core idea, that if I'm working from home, or I'm in the office, or I'm in a digital hub co-working space, I can be connected with my team. There should be no difference between whether I'm present or virtual. Furthermore, when clients come to visit, they actually, you can see them going to the lobby there, they can see the branding. One of the challenges of being virtual or remote is that disconnect with the culture. So you can start getting your brand and values and that feeling of culture back on the walls. But it really, the game playing or the game changing opportunities is around the different rooms and their purposes. So I started off in this lunch breakout room where people can come and have a coffee and connect with others. And it's very simple for someone to see where I am, activate their camera, and in they come. So say, for example, now if I say to Nino, the coach is coming, we're going for a workout in the gym, and a yoga teacher is going to come. Do you fancy joining? We both go to the same room. The gym lady yoga person comes, they do their lesson. And if others are available and they feel that they want to connect, they can. And I'm just activating the camera there now. So Nino would come in at the same time. And you can see, I'll open the floor plan, and you can see now we're together down here. What this has meant is we're now able to celebrate people. So one of the large business process I'll actually mute because I know there'll be a feed. One of the large business process outsourcing companies have decided to have a room that celebrates their teams, which means that maybe there's an awards happening or there's a birthday celebration, and they'll actually go and change the room, the customized room or office that the person is in. So maybe I'll hand over to Nino now as to, maybe Nino, you could cover some other points as to how companies are using the virtual building to help in engagement and connection.
Thank you, Vanessa. So the first challenge you mentioned very correctly for the big organizations is employee attrition. So we all the time thought about how we could help companies having hybrid working model, those people who are working from home, not to feel isolated. That's why on the floor plan, we decided to have specially dedicated room for the recreational activities. For example, breakout room is the place where all of my team members can meet me in the breakout room when I've got a break. And this is the whole visualization of your team members. And you feel so much secured when you see that your colleagues right now are having the break in the breakout room, and you can simply initiate your camera and have the organic conversation. You can even see on the floor plan that we have got the terrace area there. Some of our customers even call it the smoking area. It depends on the company and its culture. So what I'm trying to say here is these small elements and the recreational activities and different rooms on the floor plan is kind of very important for the employee engagement. And those people who are working from home, they don't feel isolated anymore. The second one is about the visualization and the tangibility. And your team members have got the designated avatars on the floor plan, which means that this is the recognition of each team member. So you're the part of the organizational culture.
Super, thank you, Nino. So as Nino has highlighted, that it really has helped people connect, feel more engaged, and actually be very creative when it comes to whether it's a Christmas party and there's a room celebrating, and actually some have even arranged for the doorbell to ring while the celebration is happening with food delivery, whatever it might be. So I'm going to move on just quickly from Yonder Desk to talk about other areas that can really help you predict the skills of the future and enable retention and reduce the area of resignation. So for companies right now, your greatest assets are your people. And as roles evolve, it's really to understand, well, what are the skills that they have? Obviously, we have services at Abodu that can make it faster and quicker. But even if you don't engage a company like ourselves, my high recommendation is to map the skills of your organization now to see, are people in the best roles? And if they're not, providing reskilling that can really help them on a career path. A lot of people now are saying, well, where am I going to be in 3-5 years time? And if I work remotely, will I be excluded from the workplace? So by providing this integrated virtual space where they can immerse themselves, they connect with people in the office, even if they're in Cork and the office is up the north, you're enabling people to have that connection. Secondly, you could actually build in coaching and learning to happen in your floor. So it's happening in real time. The other thing I would highly recommend is, now that the borders or boundaries are, no longer limited to the commuting distance, actually look to see where are the skills clusters across a region, across a country. There's amazing talent globally. And now that you have video technology and now virtual buildings, there is nothing preventing you from attracting the best people in. And then the final thing, and something I'm quite passionate about, is really around diversity and inclusion. and it falls under our geo matching. It's actually where Abodu started. We were really trying to understand how can we build technology that enables people and companies to connect on skills first, so supporting diversity, but they enabled people to be anonymous. So that what that would mean for the company is that you are pro-diversity, but for the individual, you can't see the age, sex, or ethnicity, and it really gives the opportunity to get the best skills within the business. When companies implement diversity hiring, really strong virtual working, they hold on to their best people for the long term, which can make you very, very competitive. And the last point I'd make is that having worked in recruitment for nearly 20 years, the big brands are slowly losing their pull or their draw. By that I mean, you know, before it was maybe the rock climbing wall or the free food all day. But once you've experienced remote, really, you can't put a value on your time. And I think it's an amazing opportunity for small to medium-sized companies now to really think about their hybrid remote working, not just policy, but also the virtual infrastructure that people have, as well as the kit to work from home. And it's something we're launching for 2022 because we've realized actually, and this is through Yonder Desk, that people can't work on desks if their back is bent over. People need the right ergonomic chair. And I don't know if any of you saw an interview I did recently with Richard Grogan, the solicitor, and he really opened my eyes and those that listened of the potential litigation that lies ahead if we don't act upfront with our workspace, and now really workspaces beyond office walls. So maybe I'll stop there, and if there's any questions that have come through, I'll be happy to answer.
Great stuff. Right, so we're back in the room. Hopefully my microphone will kick in 1 second. I have a question here, Vanessa, from Martin Gilchrist, who's from Workshore Co-working. He said, what are the best web platforms for managing hybrid working? Well, I think obviously perhaps yours was one, but obviously any other suggestions obviously around obviously the other platforms that can help with that hybrid approach?
There's actually very few. There's a couple in America. I am biased, I guess, because I feel like Yonder Desk is giving people the ability to personalize it and connect, and it's quite affordable if you're an SME right up to an enterprise. But I think Teams will get better. I mean, we're looking to integrate Teams because we see the importance. Like if an enterprise is leaning heavily on Zoom or Teams, then that's probably the video technology they want to bring forth with them. But it's that who's providing the virtual space. And just on that point of co-working, I actually think virtual co-working is a huge opportunity for co-working hubs, because, you know, if we face another lockdown, and I don't want to jinx it, but, you know, the indications are there. If you're in a co-working space, all of a sudden you're back home for a few months, you feel disconnected. But this gives you the ability to replicate the co-working hub online and let people connect. So you're never really closed.
Yeah. Actually, something that I read this morning, about 6 o'clock this morning while I was getting ready for this, is Sifted, which is a big tech publication. They wrote a piece which is it time for us to start hiring remote managers? So people that manage the remote process. And is that something you're starting to see in real life as well, that companies are having someone to manage that process just as a job?
100%, yeah. If you look on LinkedIn and Indeed, and it's really only in the last couple of months, head of remote director are jobs that are being created now. Once again, I think for the smaller companies, it's a little bit challenging, but bring in a specialist, bring in someone who maybe spend a day on your business. And I think especially from that recent interview that I did, my eyes definitely were opened to the fact that the home is now the workplace, which is hard to get your head around. And, you know, for one company, I was told that they are having to deploy assessors to every single workplace to ensure, or home, to ensure it is adequate to the workplace standards. So homes, apartments, and that brings its own complications, but isn't it better to do all of this up front than after the fact?
Absolutely, absolutely. Vanessa and Nino, thank you so much for joining us today. Forgive us, I would love to chat with you for about another half an hour, but we have to jump on to the next session. All I would say is that we have some reports, obviously, that the team have put together that we can send on to anyone in the room as well if they want some more information on the process of working hybrid or remote. And obviously that information is being provided by Yonder Desk and the team. So thank you ever so much for the support you've given us as well. We'll look forward to chatting again. Round of applause from the audience in the room as well. Look at that. Oh, wow.
I haven't heard one of those for so long.
Oh my God, I feel like I'm in the metaverse or something. What's going on? Mr. Zuckerberg, if you're listening in, this is what it looks like, kind of. So no, thank you ever so much, team. We'll move on, and we're just going to go to a quick advert break from Clockwise. So we'll jump onto that. And Vanessa, Nino, thanks for your time.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys. But look at that, it's like magic. They've all joined us in real life. So I'm going to introduce a few people that are here in real life. We also have joining us on Zoom, we should have Toby Farron, who is from Waypoint, Ben Dixon, who is from Sonar, and Shay O'Carroll, who is from Pixel Max. So this is going to be some kind of weirded blended experience where you see you guys in the audience here will see the Zoom and the real life, and hopefully everyone at home will see the combination of the two as well. Toby Farron is the CEO of Waypoint. They're sponsoring this session. Thank you ever so much. Ben Dixon is the co-founder of Sonar, which is an employee app for tomorrow's deskless workforce. Emma Jones is the founder of Enterprise Nation, which is obviously the home business website. Rachel McMillan is the general manager of Clockwise Offices. Shay is the co-founder of Pixel Max, which is an award-winning immersive communications platform. And Rachel Gawley is a leading experience in building flexible and collaborative teams. She's based in Northern Ireland as well. So thank you.
I know.
Hello, Toby, Ben, and Shay.
Hi, guys.
Hi, guys. This probably feels a bit weird, but don't worry, it's not as weird as it feels for me right now. Lovely to have you with us. Rachel, I'm going to start with you because you're in the room. Clockwise as well, you're a co-working space. I suppose it's a little bit weird listening to Vanessa talk about this kind of hybrid experience. And I'm sure you've obviously had to adapt how you've dealt with things over the last while. So the pandemic has kind of moved things on in a way. So what do you think about remote working? Is it something that you're kind of encouraging your members to experience as well as being in the office?
Yeah, definitely. I think that what we've seen in Clockwise is that blended approach. A lot of our members are combining the two. And I have come full circle from last year feeling like, oh my goodness, I'm going to lose my job. The office is going to die. But that is definitely not the case. And what our members are doing, a lot of them at the beginning ran surveys just to really ascertain what their team wanted to do and how many days they wanted at home and how many days they want to spend in the office. And I believe that's definitely the best way to go about it. But I think that it's important that companies set clear goals to know what they want to achieve at home and versus in the office. And what I have heard from members is that a lot of the work they do at home is more focused project and admin work. And then in the office, it is that collaboration and bouncing ideas off each other, which I really feel is very hard to achieve whilst working at home. And Clockwise is very well placed with the facilities that we have and the events and all of that collaboration space, to really be in a good position to be able to offer both of those benefits for members. But it is the collaboration and the flexibility that they want from the office, and at home is where they can do their focused and admin work. So I would definitely encourage it.
Perfect. I think in a way it's like, I would like the virtual gym. That sounds amazing. Neve, what about yourself? Obviously, like, is it something that you've had to adapt yourself?
Oh yeah, definitely. I find that I'm working from home way more now than I was even 2 months ago. I maybe go into the office like once a week. I find that the office can be a bit distracting because I'm a very sociable person. So I can't stop talking to all the other people that work in there. But yeah, having to reevaluate, the benefits of Clockwise. Have you found that when it comes to marketing and promoting yourself, have you had to rethink how to do that?
Well, we've had to rethink more the physical space and our offering, in a sense that, with the sharp rise in doing calls online, we have seen our club spaces and our meeting rooms becoming increasingly busy. So we have actually now ordered more phone booths and Zoom pods, which are arriving early next year. And we have also introduced a Clockwise Flex Pass, which we have been advertising out to members and on our social media. And it's been really beneficial for our members who have decreased their office footprint. For example, we have a member who has 45 team members, but they have a 20-person office. But the Flex Pass essentially enables them to, for all of their team to have a membership and have access, but just rotate between the space. Perfect. So that's one thing that we really advertised. But next year we'll really be focusing on increasing our co-working spaces, meeting rooms, adding in more furnishing and acoustic furnishing, which we'll be advertising as well when those changes happen.
Have you found many limitations when it comes to providing, the likes of workshops? I know there's a limit of like 12 to 14 people. Have you had many struggles with that, or have you found that?
We have started running events again in the space, but it's slowly, it's going to be a bit of a slow burner to increase, because people are still concerned about, obviously, safety, but we have those measures in place still in Clockwise. And I think it's getting a good blended approach of what we have in Clockwise is we have good talks and workshops and health and wellness as well, really focusing in on that, because it has been difficult for so many working from home for so long. But the challenge is it's hard to get the numbers as well, because there are so many people still working from home. I don't think we're ever going to see the full capacity that we had pre-COVID in the building, because there's always going to be that mix of the two. So it's hard to say what numbers, even when we're planning events, when it comes to catering and just to try to work out what the numbers are going to be, because it is hard to kind of gauge. So
like let's obviously, I've got a question that's come in actually, and I think it might be David Shaw, but forgive me if it's not. And the question is, obviously, I'm going to ask this to Shay, and Shay, you can possibly start, if that's okay, with just explaining a little bit about what you're up to, and then the question will make more sense to the audience. So what is it you're up to at the moment? Obviously.
So just checking you can hear me okay. So we've effectively moved into, from creating virtual factories before the pandemic. During obviously the pandemic, things moved across to eventing and immersive eventing, and we were all about creating something that was engaging, and it's grown from that. And now we're kind of at a place now where the clients we had during there want those places to be on all the time. So now we create fully immersive worlds effectively on behalf of corporate clients. So virtual offices being one of those, where effectively you can walk in, you can be your own avatar, and you can go and bump into your other members of staff and teams, and a whole myriad of interesting things. But I'll let you come on to the question.
No, perfect. The question is, what's your thoughts on Zop's vision of the metaverse? Like, obviously, would you classify yourself as that metaverse solution anyway?
So yeah, we've been doing this for like 4 years. So we've been creating, interactive, engaging 3D environments, but it was more about reducing travel and giving people an engaging and relevant place to immerse yourself. And you can imagine how many times we've been asked this over the last 2 weeks, and it's all very interesting, this hypothesizing about what we can do and what it might be. And we're all about doing it. And, we have been doing it for a while. And there's some of the things we're doing now in terms of just extending the existing physical workspace. People are now starting to invest in their virtual workplace in the same manner. They want the same identity, the same level of consciousness towards their staff and things like that. So, I mean, my view is, honestly, I think it's more of a PR stunt, but, you know, they've got a huge amount of investment, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of activity in this space.
Yeah, no, perfect. And I'm going to just jump really quickly before I pass you over to Neve on the next question is to Ben. Ben, tell us a little bit about Sona, and then I'll ask you a question which relates to that specifically as well.
Fantastic. So Sona is a platform for managing deskless workers. So if you think anyone from sort of nurses, waiters, anyone who doesn't typically spend their time behind a desk. So the goal of it is to provide a system that empowers workers to sort of take control of their own work life, and also which minimizes the amount of time that sort of managers spend dealing with the admin of managing sort of complex distributed workforces. And it's been a particularly interesting time to do it because although being fully remote and being distributed are different, actually you share a lot of common challenges of how do you manage a large group of people who aren't always in the same building at the same time.
Obviously, so my question then directly is, have you seen more of a kind of digital transformation that's coming from the traditional sectors? Is there more of an embracement from those sectors that traditionally wouldn't have used digital, and are they benefiting from that approach, irrespective of the pandemic or what? Like, do you feel that's something that's going to be sticking for ongoing from now?
Yeah, it's been really interesting because I think the conversations that we've sort of been most used to having would be businesses that already had quite a lot of technology, and maybe they were moving on to sort of a new generation or looking to fill gaps. And what the conversations we're increasingly having, I think, are the last wave of businesses that were predominantly paper-based or spreadsheet-based. And the pandemic has sort of provided the catalyst to push them over the edge. So we're actually getting involved in more and more greenfield projects of businesses that historically haven't really been technology enabled at all, who are now going straight in with sort of third and fourth generation workforce tech. And I think what's been quite exciting to see there is this increasing embracing of this idea of using technology as a way to empower workers rather than control them. So a great example we're seeing is sort of 3 or 4 years ago, businesses were very excited about auto scheduling and trying to automatically assign people to things. Whereas now we're seeing this really strong trend towards self-scheduling, where the business lets people know what it needs and then allows workers to make their own decisions about how they fulfill that. And we see that as a sort of wider trend as rather than using technology as a way to kind of control or monitor remote workforces, instead it being a tool to empower them and to give people more autonomy over how they conduct their day-to-day work.
It's a really good point. And before, obviously, Neve, I'm going to pass you over to yourself, but I just want to signpost to Waypoint at this point, because that's obviously about empowering people to make their own choices and come together collaboratively to kind of develop ideas in that innovation process. So I'm going to pass you over to Neve. I'd love you to ask some questions for Emma and Rachel on this side of the room as well.
Yeah, no problem. So Emma, how quickly did the small business owner adapt to the completely remote reality of working over the last 12 to 18 months?
Morning, and first of all, congratulations on the best hybrid event I have seen since the whole of lockdown. So well done.
Hang on a minute. Can we just?
Oh well, no, I already tweeted it. I did a picture of this set. It's just really professional, so it's a pleasure to be here. But to your question, I think small business owners are still adapting, and I kind of came in, sorry, a little bit late, but when I was hearing the Yonder Desk presentation at the beginning, I sent a couple of notes kind of to my team. So first of all, to our head of ops, just saying, are we making sure that everyone in our team feels comfortable working from home? Because I'm not quite sure we're brilliantly onto that. So I've got a team of 35 people. And then I also sent a note kind of to our head of marketing saying, should we do something that's got more of our brand identity that's delivered on virtual calls? So all the time, small business owners are still learning. And it's really interesting kind of hearing about the technology platforms that are enabling all of this to happen. I think the one thing that I would love a little bit more conversation on is the mindset that's required to make this happen. So technology enables teams to do self-scheduling, which I love, But I'm of an age, and as a founder of a business, I guess I'm quite old as a founder. And I think younger founders are not going to struggle with this at all, because they will start businesses that probably are kind of remote first and have the benefit of an office. But I had a first and only job actually before I started my own company with a business called Arthur Andersen. And I don't know if anyone kind of used to come across that business. It was one of what was called the Big Five. There's now 4 big accounting firms. Andersen's was the 5th biggest one. It actually went down in an accounting scandal, but that's not the point. The point was, when I started at Andersen's, there was this whole work philosophy of, if you're in the office, you are seen. And therefore, if you're in the office from 7 a.m. until 9 p.m., that's going to really help your career progression, because you're seen to be in the office, and therefore your managers think you're in the office and therefore you're working. So for founders pretty much of my generation, the technology can be enabling, which I love. One of the biggest shifts that we're all having to make is, how can you trust your team when you can't see them? So there is an element where I think small business owners are still adapting to kind of say, first of all, let's find the new technologies on the market. So coming to an event like this is great, because I hadn't heard of Yonder Desk, I hadn't heard of Pixel. So it's good to find out about the new technologies. But I do think small business owners have got to help each other around that kind of mentality of, how do we feel comfortable that the progress in our business is being made when we can't see the team? And then another topic, which I'm sure you'll cover today, is then how you keep the culture of a business alive when you're not seeing people as much as you used to. So small business owners are adapting. I mean, they adapt incredibly quickly to anything. So they are adapting, but I think it still requires actually a lot of conversation so that everyone can just figure out this new world together.
It's very interesting you should mention trust. I know Vanessa had mentioned trust earlier as well. Something I never particularly thought of.
I don't know.
Do you think so? Oh, it's back again.
Jumpy mics.
But I find that I'm getting over it now, but I have a lot of guilt from working from home, because for some reason I may get more done at home, but I'm like, I should be in the office. And like, I refuse to take a break at home out of that guilt. So yeah, the trust is one I never considered till today, really.
And it's also, and just, I know that kind of well-being is coming up as well, and well-being spaces. It's one of the things we've heard from our team is, we do employee pulse surveys, and at one point during lockdown, we kind of said, how does everyone feel about the working conditions? And everyone said, I love being at home, but I'm just not taking a lunch break. I feel completely stretched. So again, companies have to, and this is probably another thing that we're seeing businesses who are doing well, who are doing this well, is listen to your team all the time. We do an employee survey every 2 weeks. We try and keep the pulse of the company. And of course, because you're not, you know, again, previously when we were all in the office, and we used to be just UK, we're Ireland now. So of course you can't physically have everybody in a London office, but when you used to be with people, you could tell if they were up or down because you were physically in the same space. When they're working from home, they come on a 30-minute call, you do the business, and you can't get the sense of, are they mentally kind of feeling fit today? So you have to rely on your team telling you, so listen to your team all the time. But just one other thing pushing sort of back out to the team is communication. So I send a note to the team every morning. I still don't know if they like it or not, but every single morning I send a note to the team, which has just got a piece of news in it. It's kind of a little update. We have a stand-up every Monday where all the team come together. We do quarterly socials. So I think this is becoming a bigger part of the working life, is just regular check-in points with everyone.
So I'm going to ask a question that's come in from the audience, which I think really leads very nicely onto that. And then what I want to do is ask Toby and Rachel from the innovation perspective, because I feel like it might have been quite hard to drive innovation during lockdown, but perhaps it's the flip of that and it's the other way around. So I'm going to ask Shay and Ben on this question, if that's cool. And obviously you can give your own inputs on it. But the question is a really excellent one. Curious to know from a team manager's perspective, with all this virtual technology that we're talking about, how do you engage or motivate remote workers who are introverts or neurodivergent and less likely to take part in team building? Ben, let's look at it from your perspective first.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting one. I think, like, particularly, it's even for people who wouldn't necessarily classify themselves as introverts. If you're on a Zoom call with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people, that's quite an intimidating environment. I think a really simple thing that we found to be very effective is having different channels of communication. So one example would be Zoom very much is sort of the world of grids of lots of people who are all looking at you, and it can be quite uncomfortable to get your viewpoint out. We have other tools which do exactly the same thing. So we use something called Tuple, which is a tool for jumping onto a very quick voice chat, predominantly for engineers. And it sounds silly because it's almost identical to Zoom and what it does. If you put them side by side for features, it would be the same. But because that you can have a very clear psychological difference between something where you're going to be jumping on and having a meeting with somebody and something where you're going to be, I think you might have video and this sort of thing, and something where you might be jumping on for 2 or 3 minutes with only voice to have a quick conversation, we find that different people engage very differently. Some people love the audience of Zoom, but some people are much happier with that sort of more informal environment. So having some a way of replicating that idea of, am I standing in a meeting now, or am I chatting to somebody by the water cooler, or whatever that may be, have found makes a surprisingly big difference.
Yeah, I would actually amplify that in terms of, I wholeheartedly agree. We've had meetings now, so like you're running now, we're running hybrid meetings where we're presenting to our teams both in person and virtually, and there's things like lag and all sorts of fun things that you'll be dealing with today throughout the day. But the point, what we've found now is we've got members of the team who are predominantly quiet, especially in face-to-face meetings, but then we enable them to just chat via text. And we've got people who in the past would never speak. And they're actually the people that came up with the idea of setting up a wellbeing initiative within the company. And that was via text feedback. So it was actually less intimidating. And we started off with that. And then we started to think about how we can get people to engage differently. So obviously we work in game engine technology. A lot of people are quite familiar or have seen their kids play games. So ours are effectively an enterprise version of that, where you can wander through, or your avatar can wander through a workplace. And let's say you've got 5 minutes before a meeting, we have a virtual water cooler where you can just walk up and you then launch a voice over IP chat, which is exactly what Ben just mentioned there. And you can just have like a little informal chat with people, and the ability to drop out of this kind of like this back-to-back meeting, like face-to-face. So we're really pushing that. And now we're kind of really going down the route of games. So having something where you can break out, and whether it's a yoga session or something that, fitness related, or just being able to do an escape room together and things like that, but driving engagement through fun. And as boring as that sounds, or non-corporate as that sounds, we're finding the more fun you throw in, the more we're actually driving our teams together, the more they're starting to get along, the more informal chat that they're having. And I think it allows you to really thrive. But these are things that there was no real theory. We work closely with an occupational psychologist called Sarah Clark, and some of the insight we get from her is amazing. But I think at a fundamental level, we all need to start thinking about our HR functions and thinking about the psychology behind this and the amount of change that's going on, because well-being it is a massive challenge for us all, and it's definitely here to stay.
Absolutely. Oh, there you go. Hello. Just checking. Obviously, this is the same with our event today, isn't it? We've got obviously you guys on Zoom. We've got obviously everyone here in the room. We've got the audience. Then we've got the audience. It's kind of like events will never be the same. And I think we're in a working environment which will never be the same as well. Like, we've got to combine all of these things together. So I just wanted to then move the conversation on slightly, and thinking about the actual the kind of product and kind of innovation, development and design. Rachel, obviously you've worked in that space for an awful long time. So how have you found the pandemic in terms of how people are approaching the remote working and then innovation within that?
Yeah, so I think for me, to hark back, sort of like the pixel, like metaverse is, I'm in tech, so we've been hybrid working for years, so you're all coming to the party and now, and I would sort of say that this is not a fair test. So this is not hybrid working as you would expect in the world, so it's going to get better. So I think it's actually this radical change, embrace it. Don't be trying to replicate, the as is before. Embrace this as change. For me, for innovation, I worked with a lot of large orgs and things like that. All the barriers came down. I worked on the Merchant Alliance, and we would have like Rolls-Royce, Google, Microsoft, IBM, all in the same room working collaboratively together. And that would have taken a lot of orchestration before. Put a link out, away we go, we start to do things a lot quicker. So I think this has sort of broken down some of the barriers that frustrated me. in the fact that now that everybody's kind of at the party. So I kind of love that, but I do think like there's definitely some barriers to sort of getting that properly orchestrated. And like someone said HR, and I think that HR has to get with the program here. You know, it's not necessarily about fighting the attrition. Flexible workforce, you know, I was at a company recently, Whitespace. I took entrepreneurial leave for a bit and then came back in, you know, this kind of flexible rather than lose me completely. Let me go off for a few months, let me go do something, let me come back, let me work part-time. So I think that's where we're going. That's where the game changing, like people sort of get to, let's just say a certain stage of life, like me, an age, you've kind of done a lot of stuff and you're like, what do I do next? And sort of, those are the people resigning, you know, those are the people that are like, you know what, I'm out. And now I just want to go and cherry pick and do what I want to do. And remote allows that. And sort of the biggest challenge I have, and I say that to sort of the other Rachel there, is I've been hybrid working for years and I always struggled with the co-working space, getting it just right. And I think co-working spaces are finally getting it right, because I would actually, you know, only want it part-time, but I always had to maintain some sort of office space, and that was annoying. So I think there's lots of learnings and I'm embracing that. I think this is great. And I think for innovation as well, there's things I was trying to push through for 5 years. Suddenly pandemic hits, 48 hours, done. You know, that's amazing. That's good, but also makes me think, did we need a pandemic for that to happen as well?
Is this working okay?
Yep,
There we go.
yep.
No, I believe that, well, it may have happened eventually, but obviously it happened a lot faster. And what do you think that the future workplaces look like? Because obviously a key word that I'm hearing a lot is communication. At the start, there was a big panic. I know in our workplace, we did not know how to communicate to each other. Now we've got really big into voice notes on WhatsApp. We're constantly sending voice notes. What is the best form of communication that you've been using for years now?
I would say it's a big thing. It's very much you miss nuance in text message and stuff like that, and that's kind of a bit weird. I would say async. There's a lot of focus of when we have to be together, our time is valuable. So now scarcity of time together makes us very productive. So the rest of the time I can fire something off. Doesn't need to be executed now. Someone in a completely different time zone in Israel can pick it up, do it when they do it, and then fire it back to me. So this sort of async doesn't need to be immediate. I think people need to get their head around that. And I sort of like how we talk to each other and sort of how do we still keep the niceties and sort of as well. So I think there's that can be lost. I have an open channel that's just audio. So any of my team at certain hours, if they just want to come out, shoot the breeze, need me, it's my non-focus time. So that you can get that window and you're not going to annoy me because I'm not focused on my thinking couch or doing whatever I choose to do. And you'll find that maybe one person comes in and then 2 and 3, and you can shoot the breeze that way. And sort of, I think that's the future. The interesting thing that I found going back out to people, you can call out behaviors better now. You know, that if someone's getting argy-bargy and like on Zoom, it's like, yeah, been like, you know, gone. But like, and that was probably the most shocking thing for me, to be back out in the real world. You know, and I work a lot of like, you know, innovation can be difficult. There's a lot of change, there's emotions here. And the first time I was back out in the real world and I experienced that aggressive, typical executive person using their size, their voice to really dominate. And I was like, this is it. This doesn't have to happen anymore. So I think it's good to call out those behaviors now and make sure they don't creep in to your communication style. So for me, it's now, none of that behavior should have been acceptable before, but now I'm like, flip, I've, you know, spent 18 months without that. I don't need your aggression in my life. Move on.
It's a really good point. And obviously I now want to jump. Oh, hello, Niall from Glandor. But there he is, he's joining in. It's okay, don't worry. This is the whole point of the hybrid approach. You can just walk in, walk out, grab a coffee. We don't mind, it's okay. And I kind of feel like I've always been remote in my head anyway. That's what I'm thinking. And I'm thinking, well, I've always talked to my dog, so nothing much has changed there either. So I was just gonna now moving on, because I feel like Toby's been sitting there in what looks like a very wild field.
Yeah,
and
I've been shrunk.
He has been shrunk. It's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids all over again.
Yeah.
I just obviously wanted to jump on now, Toby, because you've been listening in very quietly there. And what are your thoughts immediately on what everyone has said? And then secondly, I want you to tell us a little bit more about Waypoint and how this all links to what you're doing.
Sure. So I guess first on what people have been talking about so far, one of the things that really kind of stood out to me was your question around introverts and neurodivergence. And in my opinion, I think Ben's quite correct here in terms of different channels and different mediums fit different styles of work and are appropriate at different points. I'd actually argue that this kind of creates more of a level playing field for these sorts of personalities, because traditionally, you know, a lot of these things would have been done just in meetings, and that was kind of where a lot of this get done. In those situations, it's the dominant personalities that effectively, you know, decide the outcomes and kind of add the framework to the event, let's say. I think technology creates more of a level playing field for different types of personalities, and it actually enables them to have more of a voice than previously. On the culture side of things, Emma talked about obviously tools being very important, but obviously culture plays a large part as well. I'd agree fundamentally with that. What we're seeing is kind of a move away from command and control style management to more kind of team empowerment and things like that. The role of the project manager is basically moving from, you know, scheduling, task management, telling people what to do, and their role is moving more towards being a change agent, where effectively their role is to give their team context for the rest of the organization. How are they delivering value to the organization, and where best can they connect to resources that exist across the organization? So really the team leader or the project manager role, what we're seeing is becoming more like a catalyst for the team as opposed to a command and controller. I guess the two big things in summary that we're seeing is that what worked yesterday is not going to work tomorrow, and that nobody can do it alone, no individual, no team, no company. We're seeing a huge desire from executives that they want to make much better usage of the collective intelligence and the resources that exist in the organization. And from the staff perspective, we're seeing, you know, we've heard a lot about the Great Resignation. I wouldn't necessarily take that stance on it, but what I do think we're seeing is the future workforce having a much more focus on value orientation and impact. So what is the purpose of my role? What does it mean for the organization? And what does it mean for the wider world and ecosystem? So I think it's happening at both sides. And I think for organizations who want the best talent and the people who are going to give the best ideas and contribute to innovative activities and help drive the change of the organization, they're going to have to move away from command and control style structures, and they're going to have to connect better to the resources that exist, not just inside the organization, but also their users, their clients, their partners. You know, what does our ecosystem mean, and how do we best make use of the resources and intelligence that exist across it? So with Waypoint,
yeah, just on Waypoint, then you're talking about change management quite a lot, and obviously for someone that doesn't work within that, tell us about change management and Waypoint so I can better understand what you're up to.
Yeah, so effectively what our platform does is it acts as a social layer for the organization, and it connects individuals and teams with the people, process, and evidence that will help them navigate change at the different points. So it effectively, it's a socialization of the change process, which is people have a high resistance to change, and mandating a top-down is not necessarily the best way to make change happen. So you've got to bring everybody along for the ride. And the second side of it is there's a huge amount of situational awareness that kind of comes from the staff. You know, they're living in the trenches of the organization, and to try and attempt to do change without their insight and without their awareness is a recipe for disaster. I mean, you can see in our video at the start, we talked about 70% of change initiatives failing. And the primary driver for that is not connecting to enough of the right people at the right points in the change journey. It's not about having, you know, poor strategies or a lack of resources. It's really about having a lack of empathy and not connecting to people from start to finish.
Perfect. I know we're tight for time, and there's so many of you, so it's kind of like, again, I could kind of chat all day on this, but I want to just finish with asking each one of you to very quickly tell us about another tool or platform that you've been using that's helped with hybrid, blended, or being back in the office approach, something that we could all learn from and take away and obviously potentially use. So Rachel, obviously from your end.
I'll give you my entire stack: Google Docs, Slack, and Whereby, and that's it. That's all I need to be on the road. And WhatsApp is good too for the socials.
Yeah, love it. Emma?
Yeah, ours is slightly different. So we use lots of kind of stacks of technologies, but I think the thing that's changed it for us is we've set up a Zoom room in the office. So we paid $4,000 for a massive kind of TV screen. So it's kind of this effect. So if you're in the office, what we had found is that people were in the office were having one meeting, and people who were at home were just like, I just do not feel involved in what's going on. So that's one thing for us where I'd like to think it's kind of technology helping aid the division between, are you in the office or are you not?
Perfect. I'm just imagining like Emma as like Tom Cruise now at this point with Minority Report and all these people in front of her. Neve, what about yourself? Obviously working as a small business owner, anything that you've really used during lockdown that's really helped in terms of that process, apart from what's been mentioned? Sorry.
I don't know. I don't think I've used anything in particular that everyone else isn't using, you know, but honestly, if WhatsApp died today, I would lose a lot of things.
Yeah.
I'm relying a lot on it, and it was the best way of hearing people's voices. I think for me, I just had to hear their voices. I was starting to think that people were in a bad mood, employees were angry at me. Like there's no tone in text or emails, so I just needed to hear the voice regularly. I think that was a big one for me.
Totally. Before I ask Rachel and then go, obviously, one of the comments, Michael McDonald has asked, can we bring back the phone call? I'm free and I'll speak, and if not, I'll phone you back. It sounds quite obvious, doesn't it? Like, let's just start chatting to each other again, whether it's in real life or on the phone. Rachel, anything that you've used or are starting to use in the office again that's helping with your management of people?
Well, for the team, like the actual Clockwise team, we would just use Microsoft Teams, and we do still pick up the phone because a lot of our colleagues work across the water in the rest of the UK. We do just pick up the phone and call each other. But when it comes to our actual members and platforms or technology that has helped them, they have used the likes of In the Office. I don't know if you've heard of that, but that is a communications and hot desking booking system, which has been really beneficial for our members using that blended approach.
Yep, perfect. Just before I move on again, it's like old school stuff. It's like people posting like letters through the door. I remember Amazon started doing that again because obviously people love to actually look at stuff and buy stuff. And I think it's the old school stuff. It sounds a bit old, but SMS, David Phelan just said, I've gone back to SMS text messages to communicate with some team members as it helps cut through Teams, Slack, email, Zoom. Like just one thing, it sounds pretty obvious, doesn't it? And Ben, obviously from Sona, alongside obviously what you're doing, which is an amazing piece of tech and innovation, obviously for the kind of more traditional industries and those that are deskless. What anything else that you've used or have been heard of, or?
I mean, I think it almost sounds lower tech. I can't echo enough the point about if you have a hybrid workforce, investing in Zoom hardware or video conferencing hardware for those locations, but equally for your remote workers, investing in hardware for them. Because the difference, if you're spending a lot of time on calls throughout the day, between having spent a little bit of money on high quality audio equipment and cameras, the difference in your energy level at the end of the day will be hugely different if you're using good quality equipment for that versus if you're at home and using sort of whichever pair of headphones came free with your phone. And I think it should be as fundamental as, you know, you need a good desk, you need a good office chair, that you need really good quality hardware if you're going to spend your life or a good proportion of your life on video conferences.
Totally. And obviously, let's hope that the employer pays for that as well.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's kind of tough on obviously employees working from home. They've got to probably sometimes generally pay for their own tech as well. Shay, anything that you've seen out there apart from what's that Mr. Zuckerberg all about when you're doing it already for 4 years? Honestly, what would you say is something that you've used in the business or heard about and you're going, wow, that's the future?
We're literally building digital real estate on behalf of our clients that they own. So if I'm honest, we have to integrate anything. So if an organization uses Teams and Microsoft, we have to integrate it. But the stuff we've integrated recently, Slack, YouTube Live, Teams, I mean, it's an endless list. I've just heard 2 other companies in this panel we'd love to integrate as well. So we're kind of a marketplace. So we're like non-stop integration. So a lot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Before I move on to Toby with the final word on this, and then we'll have to wrap it all up. We've got one comment that's come in and saying using Zoom and Teams with camera turned off, aka audio conference, helps focus on voice and the nuances in the voice. makes people more comfortable as well. That's a really good comment, and it doesn't mean that we need to necessarily be looking at each other all the time, does it? Just to have meaningful conversation. Toby, last comment to yourself, something obviously alongside Waypoint, something that you've seen or you'd be like, I'd love to use myself.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be case by company. It's whatever they're comfortable with and what makes sense for their culture, their size, and the kind of work that they're doing. I would say that I think the integrations between those mediums is important. You want to avoid information asynchronicity. When people don't have context for what they're doing, create some balanced conversations. If people are lacking information that maybe happened on one channel, they're not up to speed. So I don't think it matters too much as long as there's kind of symmetry with the information and the conversations. I would say that a tool we've found quite a bit of success with is Discord. It's familiar to Slack, but the engineers love it. So it's kind of a great tool for us to kind of connect the business conversations with the technical conversations. But again, I think that's just down to the culture of our team. It's worked for us.
Yeah, and that's maybe the final point, isn't it? It depends on the culture of the team and who you've got working with you on what works best for you. I love Emma's idea of having that big screen in the office as well to kind of connect everyone kind of virtually, but in real life. It's a changing landscape, isn't it? I'm sure everyone in the audience has got points as well that they'd love to make. And thank you for all the questions that have come through from WhatsApp as well. By the way, I don't look this old in real life. I don't know why it's because I shaved my head this morning. So I just wanted to pass on my thanks to Shay, Ben, Toby, Rachel, Emma, Neve, Rachel. Oh my God, so many people. But thank you ever so much for the chat. It's amazing you to all join us. We've gone for the one show look today. That's what we were pitching for. So thank you ever so much for joining us. Round of applause from the real life audience here as well. Woo. Okay, so panelists, just stay here for 1 second. Don't jump. No looking at WhatsApp. Neve, what have we got coming up now?
So now we're going to take a look at the first of our startup pitches from our work in progress startup pitch competition, sponsored by Raise Ventures and Clockwise Belfast. These are 8 early stage tech startups from the island of Ireland with relevance to future work, workspace and workplace solutions. Will have the opportunity to compete for the cash prize of £1,500, making that clear, it's not 1 million.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, one of these will be crowned the overall winner.
Okay, so let's go live now, or I should probably say pre-recorded, but to Startup 1 Mustard, and then we'll be followed by Startup 2 Broker IQ.
My name is Matthew. We are Mustard, and our vision is to empower a digital generation with control over their financial future. With Dan's experience as a financial advisor and Dave's in cybersecurity and my own in Google and Microsoft, our team has the ingredients in finance, tech, and go-to-market to achieve our ambitions. We are solving the pension problem, which impacts employees, employers, and pension providers. 61% of European workers are worried about not having enough money when they retire, with almost a quarter having zero retirement savings. Employers are failing their employees when it comes to pensions, with our research indicating that 64% of employees are seeking more from their employers. And we're changing that. From our conversations with the leading pension provider, integrating and scaling with SMEs is a multi-billion euro pain point. So what's our solution? For employees, we're the best platform to make, manage, and monitor your pension investments. For employers, we're keeping things simple by integrating with payroll and taking care of all compliance hassles. For pension providers, we're the quickest, most cost-effective way to scale their SME business. Our SaaS platform fees paid by businesses and commission paid by pension providers gives us a dual revenue stream. Meaning a business with about 20 employees represents a €1,000 per month in recurring revenue per month. So what's the opportunity? With our pricing model, the Irish market alone represents a €300 million opportunity, but we're not stopping there. Across Europe, there are 250 million workers with no retirement savings. This is a 60 billion euro opportunity. So what's our traction to date? We have 5 businesses with over 100 employees looking to join our pilot program on launch. We're working with key business leaders in Ireland's largest pension provider, Irish Life. For our go-to-market, we have 3 resellers with access to over 10,000 Irish SMEs, excited to take Mustard to market upon our regulatory approval. And this week, we're launching our pre-seed campaign at Web Summit, seeking to raise €250,000 to build and bring Mustard to market before our UK and German expansion. Thank you for listening.
All right, so go ahead and do this. Okay.
Okay, Alistair, are we allowed to ask questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, so just a couple of quick questions. How different are you to, say, a platform like PensionBee?
PensionBee are really great. They really live in the B2C space. So if they PensionBee goes direct to consumers. If I'm a consumer, PensionBee go directly to me, whereas Mustard is about that B2B conversation. So what we do is we help employers empower their employees with that, with that kind of pension support. So what we do is we kind of have a value add for businesses, which PensionBee don't really consider too much at all.
Okay, thank you. I've got another question if nobody else has. Yeah, I'm going to go ask my other question. So my next question was, for the 250K that you're looking for, what are you going to do with that 250K?
Yeah, so that 250K is going to help us basically build and bring Mustard to market. But half that's going to be on product dev. So we want to obviously invest in the best for UX and our front end. And then the other half will be our business development plan. So hiring our initial kind of biz dev hire, to obviously sell Mustard and bring it to market and work with our resellers, which are obviously really important to our go-to-market strategy.
Okay, brilliant, thank you.
I've got a quick question. So obviously PensionBee, maybe more B2B, but the likes of Penfold do have partnerships with Starling Bank, obviously big opportunities there. What would you do to perhaps challenge that or muscle in on that side of things?
Yeah, this was really important for us is that we integrate with payroll providers. So rather than going straight to the banks, we integrate with the payroll between the business and the employee. So Mustard holds no cash. We are just like any other digital pension broker in that we just kind of facilitate the investment. So we're unique in that, and also unique is that we have access to the full pension marketplace. So whereas Penfold or PensionBee or whoever may just have one pension of their own funds, we have access to the entire marketplace. The idea there is that we give our employees and our customers the best choice in the marketplace, because we know somebody 23 and 63, they don't need the same fund. We want to give them the right fund for them.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you.
I had one question. That slide you had the 3 categories up, and you had partners on the right. Those are your presumably distribution partners?
Yes, correct. Yeah, resellers, correct.
And the resellers, are they exclusive relationships that you'll have with them, or will your competitors also have those relationships?
At the moment, they're exclusive. They are not doing any work with any of the players that you mentioned. So we are like going to be their exclusive pension offering. To be honest, none of them have any pension offerings yet. It's a new value add, new revenue opportunity for them. And because the uniqueness of our platform, we feel it's not going to be an issue at all to have exclusivity with them, because they're very excited to work with us going forward.
Thank you.
Just a quick question to you guys. What do you think the 5-10-year plan looks like?
Look, it's a huge opportunity. I think for us, what's really important is to build something that we're proud of. And for that, it's about having societal change. People in our generation were in a lot of trouble when it comes to our long-term financial future, wage stagnation, house prices, pension contribution. Like, it's a huge problem that our generation is running into in the coming decades. And we feel there's a huge opportunity to address that problem. And again, it's not just Ireland, it's not just UK, it's all across Europe and the world. So it's about scaling across Europe in the coming 5 years, where obviously we could acquire acquisition or we could look on public.
Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Joanne Cole and I am the CEO and founder of Broker IQ. Broker IQ is a customer engagement platform built specifically for the insurance and mortgage broker industry. The problem within the broker market is their lack of digital capabilities, leaving them unable to move forward with the future of work solutions. The broker market is still working with manual and legacy systems. Research shows that 63% of time in a broker's office is spent on admin tasks, as opposed to 37% spent on client services. Admin teams process the same tasks 5 times a day, every day, and the average retention rate for a broker agency is 84%. A 5% improvement would double a broker's profit in 5 years. Doing nothing is not an option for the insurance broker market. Our solution. Broker IQ sits in the middle between brokers and clients. For the broker, we provide them with a work-based solution that acts as a retention tool, reduces their admin, and helps them to become more efficient. The platform can be accessed from mobile, tablet, and computer from any location, facilitating the work from home or hybrid work model. As part of our initial launch, we have been targeting businesses with complex insurance needs. We have identified businesses such as college, engineering, manufacturing, and construction industries who would benefit from being able to access their insurance documents from their mobile devices anywhere at any time, providing a work-based solution for these industries as well as for brokers. This is what makes Broker IQ a future of work business solution. What makes our product unique? Our marketing tool. The broker market is a large and growing market, and there is an urgency and a need to embrace digital. We plan to grow and scale quickly as we operate our flywheel system of marketing. We sell our platform to the broker market starting with a premium model, but we also market to businesses and consumers who struggle with the management of their insurance data. We prompt them to download our app free of charge and nominate their broker to use the platform, creating a push-pull marketing tool. We are also the only platform that provides clients with one place to store all of their insurance documents from multiple brokers. These 2 factors set us aside from our competitors. Where we are, Broker IQ have launched. Our platform is available for clients and businesses to download from the Apple and Google Play stores, and we are out currently in a number of broker offices. Who we are, we have built a fantastic team from our inception, including myself, Des, our CTO, Michael Faulkner, our non-executive director, cousin, and John McGran, our advisors to the board. Our vision and ethos is to make insurance more accessible and transparent for all. Our ethos impacts every part of our business and is based on honesty, integrity, strategy, and transparency. We should win because we are a future of work business solution that fixes pain points for brokers as well as business consumers of insurance, fixing 2 problems in one using technology and processes, making life easier for all. Thank you for listening. My name is Joanne, and you can find us on all of the usual social media channels.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Hi. I wanted to ask regarding the business model. So you were explaining that it's free for the client and the broker is your paying customer. So how does that work? Is there like an annual fee or?
Yeah, it's a SaaS model. We have a freemium. We start with a freemium level and then we work on a subscription basis. So we have a basic user fee for up to 5 users, and it's relatively reasonable. We had this conversation today. Actually, it's relatively reasonable. At £50 per month, that's for up to 5 users, and then per user after that, we add an additional fee. That's for multi-user, multi-site.
Right. Thanks.
And how many paying customers do you have at the moment?
Well, we've just launched. We just launched there in the last week of September. So we have confirmed a number of customers. They're on the onboarding. So our onboarding our customer success is really setting us up at this moment in time. That's what I'm perfecting at this moment in time. We spent a long time on our MVP working on that. We're looking at hiring now. So I'm still looking at 3 to 4 weeks for onboarding. Then they have their freemium on, but we have confirmed a number of paying customers.
Okay, thank you.
Quick question. Have you spoken to the end users in terms of, do people want an app to manage this relationship with their brokers, or is it they like to just talk to them one-to-one?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. Our app does not take away from the one-to-one. I work for the broker space myself. It is not to take away from a one-to-one. It's just to provide another touch point for communication for brokers with their clients. You know, clients in this day and age, they want convenience, they want clarity, they will buy more insurance if they're provided with this. That does not mean that they cannot talk to their broker. It's just another touch point for them, and it gets the broker in front of their client. And our app actually has within the app video messaging and voice messaging capabilities. So the broker can also get in front of that client. And I learned that very much. I was using video emailing 5 years ago when I started selling insurance. And that's where I got the fascination for Broker IQ, because I did get quite a big hit with it. You know, clients wanted to see it. And I was one of the few then, because we didn't have a pandemic to contend with, whereas now everybody wants to video message because it's now the norm. So it has worked in my favor, definitely.
Sorry, quick follow-up. Do you have a web platform or plans to build it on the web and not just the app-based?
Yeah, well, we have the platforms built in the web for the clients or for the brokers, and then we have the app. But yes, we do plan on that in the future. Yeah.
May not have time to answer this, but are you acquiring the end user for the broker, or is the broker then deploying your solution to use with their existing customers?
Mostly the latter. However, we also market, that's the flywheel effect. We also market to the end consumer. So I actually do a good bit of marketing to businesses to download the app to onboard their broker. So we're using that push pull. So sometimes I find that the businesses would like it. They would like the solution, but we encourage them to onboard themselves through the app, put their broker's name in, and our system automates an email campaign to their broker that their client is using the Broker IQ app, and they can request a demo from us and we will set up from them. In most cases, Caleb, we actually do just market to the broker. We go out to the broker. I spend most of my time in the broker office doing that onboarding. But we do have that push-pull effect, and that's what we're really proving our concept of that at this moment in time. As we move out into commercial stage, does this push-pull work? So it's kind of a twofold marketing, but the brokers on board, they email their clients. And for every broker that onboards clients, they send emails out to their clients, the client onboards. But in my case, I have 4 separate brokers with 13 different insurance policies. So I select all of the other brokers that I would want to communicate with, and our system automates that campaign. That creates that flywheel. And I think that is what makes us slightly more unique and is our unique selling point, and will hopefully help us scale quickly.
Thank you.
Right, okay, cool. Lessons from session 1 is I must sit up better in a chair, because I looked like I was falling down the sofa. So that's lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 is it's not just about culture, it's about the team that you have as well, but like it's merging all those things together, and that kind of blended approach, it's not going away. We're not going to go back to how it was before. And in a way, that's been good, hasn't it, really? Because it just kind of means that we've been able to do things. I don't have to go to London to meet someone for a half-an-hour meeting. Simple.
It really felt like everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's going through the same experiences. It doesn't matter what business sector you're in. We're all about like having a good team that you can trust and communicate with.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that innovation piece, being able to kind of innovate quicker, faster, collaboratively, but virtually as well. It doesn't have to happen that you're with a whiteboard in a room chatting to each other and then you leave for the end of the day. It should be that's a continuous process. So change management should be easier. Just thanks again to all the speakers, the panelists, Waypoint, who sponsored this session. Our 2 major sponsors, obviously, version 1 and real-time recruitment. And we're just going to end with some music before we jump back into the second session, literally in 3-4 minutes time, with music from Cherem with Listening to My Head.
I sit alone almost every night, waiting for you to call home. Where do you go? I don't want to know when you don't pick up the phone. You've got a friend at the office, I never get around.